All right, to get started, you need to choose a square of color paper, whatever color you like. I chose purple, any color will do. The next thing you're going to do is choose a second color. I would suggest making sure that there's a little contrast between them. You don't want to do a yellowish green and a yellow where they almost look the same. You want a little bit of contrast. Now I'm going to kind of line this up and I'm going to draw some mountains. And so there might be some tall ones and some shorter ones. I'm just kind of drawing my mountain shape across the page from left side over to right side. Now I'm going to carefully cut along that mountain line. Now this is going to end up being the back. So for me, it doesn't matter that my pencil lines look a little nuts because they are going to be on the back. We can just add this to our scrap box. Okay, once you are satisfied with your mountain, maybe I'll have this one look a little more jagged. Give it a little more character. Okay, putting that in the scrap box, and now I'm going to take my glue stick and just go around the edge here. There's a lot of space, so I want to go along every edge, and I'm going back over it a couple times to make sure I really get that down, and then a few little squiggles through the middle to keep that down. Okay, we made sure to put the glue on the side with the pencil. Now we're going to flip it over, and we want to make sure we are gluing right to the bottom of our base paper. So I don't want it sticking up with a big space. I want to even it up and line it up right on the bottom. Perfect. Okay. Now, some people might choose to do a sun or a moon. Some people may choose not to. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I noticed that sometimes the different circle lines and dots in the sky, the artist had kind of going in the shape around her moon or sun, and I like that. So I'm gonna set that there. And now we're gonna grab our white paint and our paintbrush. So when I look at the art by Krista Rajneveld, I notice that she does some different things with the dots in her sky. Sometimes she just has them going from big to smaller as they go down into the distance. Sometimes she has them kind of rotating around her sun or her moon. I notice that sometimes they are just all the same size little dots, and sometimes she has them really tiny. So it's going to be up to you what you want your page to look like. I'm thinking I like the way that she differs the size. And I also like the way she has them rotate around her sun or moon. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start small. Now I've got to remember I want to start mostly at the top of my page, because as I am laying my arm on this really big page, I don't want to get white paint all over myself. So this is where it gets a little time consuming, as we are slowly filling our sky with either circles, dots, ovals, some kind of repetitive shape. Now I was using the tip of the brush, and now I'm just kind of making my dots here by just barely pressing. You could fill your whole sky with just this size of circle. You could make them bigger. It's up to you. It's the repetition and the way that she has her lines flow that really makes it look cool. So I'm just gonna keep going here with this size, and I'm just taking it in the direction around, I guess I'll call it a little moon. I didn't know if it was a moon or a sun, but I think it's a moon. So we're setting up the background for whatever animal we choose. And we are, instead of creating that animal, we're going to choose one from an old magazine or a calendar. And it's going to look really cool with this awesome background we create. Now, I'm going to choose to make these a little bit bigger. And so this is where I would have my music on and just kind of relaxing, because this is kind of a repetitive part of this piece of art. But the repetition kind of almost gives the sky a little bit of movement. It looks like it's just kind of moving out away from that moon. So I think I'm going to stick with this size for a little while, and then I might go a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to keep up with this for a minute, and I'll check back in just a second. All right. Now, if you stuck with little dots, or you made them bigger, or you had them change size, as long as you've got your whole sky done, maybe you did ovals instead, once you're done with this part, we're ready to move on to the lines on our mountains. Now, sometimes the artist would use the same color of paint in the sky as she did on her mountains, so she would use white. I'm going to switch it up for mine, and that is your choice. You can continue using the white, or you could choose a color, but you're only going to choose one color, kind of keeping it with like a monochromatic scheme on your mountains. So I've got pink. I'm going to choose a pink paint. And the first thing I want to do is just kind of outline my mountain. And then something I notice about the artist that is our inspiration today is, as she used lines across her mountains, her lines have a lot of movement. They don't look straight up and down like a grid. They kind of flow, which makes them look a little more natural. And so that is what I'm going to try to do today also, is have these lines have a little bit of movement and look a little more natural. So this is the outline of the top of my mountains, but I will add some other mountain shapes inside here. So let me go ahead and get this part done first with my outline. And then what I'm going to do is draw some different mountain shapes inside. So maybe I've got a hill here and another one that's going to come up here. So I'm just adding some mountain shapes. Maybe this one's more of a lower hill. And then having some come up here. Okay. So now I have the mountain shapes inside, and I'm finishing that outline. This is starting to look really neat. Okay, so I have the basic shapes here. And now I'm going to switch to a slightly smaller paintbrush. All right, with my smaller paintbrush, I'm going to start adding the lines. Again, trying to start at the top. I need to be careful not to rest my hand on top. So sometimes the lines might kind of flow over here, going from top to down to the left. And then maybe some of the lines are flowing down the middle. So it's like we can change the direction, and it just gives some different movement to our picture. This one might go this direction. So I'm just filling these mountains with these curving, flowing, moving lines. So this goes down. Maybe this one will kind of roll this way. Changing the direction of our lines kind of changes the way our eyes move when we look at it. So we've got some coming down, to the left, to the right, and we're just going to continue filling in our space with just that same color. So I chose white for my sky. You might choose a different color, and then you might also choose a different color for your mountains. And we're just going to finish filling the space with flowing lines. All right, once you finish adding those flowing lines to your mountains, you have this amazing background with this bright line covered sky and mountains, and we are ready to add your choice of animal. So you can go through, and if you find a smaller animal you want to put up in the mountains, you can, or you can choose a larger animal to go right out in the front. I found a picture of Samoyed dogs, and I have one of these at home, so I thought these would be great for my picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to very carefully cut out this animal and add it to my background. Okay, and they are not cut out perfectly. You can still kind of see the leash and things, but I did the best I can, and now I can decide where I want to place them. If I want them here, if I want them like up in the mountains. I think I'm going to have them down here. So I'm going to take some glue, and I am actually going to use the white glue for this, and I'm just going to put a very, very thin line around the edge. And this is just the finishing touch for our picture. And we'll just kind of choose where it's going to go. And gently place it down where you want it. I'm being careful because I still have some wet paint. And now my picture is complete. I cannot wait to see the picture you create.